take my life, but you'll take my life, but I'll take yours too. You fire musket, but I'll run you through. So when you're waiting for the next attack, you better stand, there's no turning back. The fuel sounds, the charge begins. But on this battlefield, no one wins. The smell of mercury smoke and a horse's breath is a virgin into certain death.
All right, brother War Machine, yeah, we're back for Powerhouse Live.
Powerhouse Nation, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you. We had a week off.
We did. Great to see you again, Melbourne. Sorry about the week we had off, but
No, that's all right.
some busy stuff to do, so we're back and we're ready.
We got a really big show for you tonight. It's going to be
yeah,
really
I'm
big.
looking forward to it.
We got one of the biggest wrestling referees to come out of Australia of all time.
Yeah.
That's our good friend, my longtime friend of 30 years. That is referee Daniel Beaumont. He'll be coming up in a few minutes. We'll just talk about what's been going on. What's been happening, brother, with you? Anything over the week?
Yeah, same thing. I got a new dog, De Niro. So to the War family, the Morozov family, the big De Niro.
Excellent.
And I'm very proud. You know, I've been flat out. It's been flat out with the new little guy. You know, he went in for surgery yesterday, and you know, it's been good. It's been amazing. We were feeling a little empty for a while, Erin and I, when we lost our other dog, but you know, it's good. It's good to
You'll be out pounding the pavement now around the suburb.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's cardio like you wouldn't believe. He's amazing. Amazing. He's going to be a dog.
Brother, he's going to be a V8 on 4 legs.
Ooh, you know it, man. Yep. But if I can't give a dog that's big and powerful a good life, who can? So, you know what I mean?
On you. Excellent.
Anyone can give a good home to a poodle, but, you know, try to take on a challenge and see how you go.
Yeah.
So,
how
about yourself, brother? Tell how was your week?
Oh, just working and everything. It's been a big day today. Just doing a bit of preparation for, you know, the show tonight with Dan.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this.
So yeah,
what
just
a career!
Work.
Yeah, what a career Daniel Beaumont has had.
Yeah, as I said before, we're very lucky to be working. So,
yes,
that keeps us busy.
Yes. And we, you know, we send our love to all of Melbourne. That's you know.
Yeah.
Going on this roller coaster that we call life. So
it's good. We've got a couple of people send us in some comments at the moment.
Good.
You know, Mel Conway's watching, hopefully with Brody. Stephen Patrick
guys.
Chris Trance, the transplant. Mish.
The transplant.
Leanne Garland, the lady from NAW, looks after everyone, looks after us. So,
good evening, everybody.
Yeah, so anyway,
great stuff.
Can't really talk about much else because nothing really much else has been happening because we're in lockdown. I can't go anywhere.
We are. It's minimal. It's minimal means of existence. So
yeah. So
you know,
I got to wash the car tomorrow. It's looking like it's gone through the Simpson Desert a couple of times after a rainstorm the other night. So
yeah,
I'll have to do that. But other than that, I've started working out again, trying to get the guns back into a bit of shape.
Yeah, excellent.
Doing some push-ups.
That's what I want to hear.
If anyone's got some 10-kilo weights out there, I'll be more than interested. But I can't go out of the 5K radio, so that's a bit useless. I might just have to, you know, lift up the Ferrari a couple of times and.
Yeah. Lift it up, press it.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we bring Beaumont in? We'll get this
for
underway.
Sure.
We'll
Let's
get this match
deal
underway.
rolling.
All right.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
But first off, just before we bring Daniel in, I made something for him. Dan, if you're watching this, and I know you are, watch this. Hope this works. I only just whipped this up in the last half an hour. Well, anyway.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to Powerhouse Live our good friend,
Dusty
Daniel Beaumont.
Welcome, brother. Great to see you.
Great to be
Yeah,
on
we
the
can
show.
hear you, Dust.
Yeah, I can hear you
Excellent.
clearly.
Excellent.
Hey, how you keeping up, Dan? Good?
Yeah, not too bad. Just like you guys, lucky to be still working, so pretty blessed
Yeah.
at this time. Missing our lunches.
Me
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
Missing our lunch, missing our big friend Jackson.
That's it. Think about it all the time,
Yeah.
you know. But life has to go on. Unfortunately, he's watching over us, so you know.
That's about it, my friend. Yep, we just got to make him proud. So
Yeah, he's always watching over us and
we
laughing
are. He is.
at us all the time. So
Yes.
sitting up there in his Zubaz.
Having a pizza from Aussie Pizza down there in Heidelberg.
Yep, dipping
That was
in
his
and
favourite
wine at
takeaway
the same
place.
time. So
Oh, yeah.
They
But
still
then
running good? The pizza place still open down there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They probably lost, a bit of patronage after, unfortunately, James left us. But a bit of trivia for you guys. With my work, I do delivery driving, and a lot of times I have to go up and down James's road where he lives in Heidelberg, and every time I go past his place, I beep the horn twice. Every
That's
time.
okay.
I haven't missed out once.
That's awesome.
Just in
That's
honour
really
of our
cool.
good friend the Beast. He's always.
I always think of his laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The problem was he was such an intelligent man that he was so humble. I think sometimes he used to use that laugh a lot when he was laughing at us too. It was like that's the way it felt sometimes.
But the thing that clicked with me and James is when he did this introduction for my Hall of Fame induction at NAW, and I was standing behind the curtain, and I was like, "Man, this is like amazing." You know, like it really like moved me, and I mean, we're always friends, but after that, man, I thought so much of it doing that for me. It, like, really, I was almost crying before I walked out. You know?
You would have. He's such a well-spoken man, and he gives everything the respect and due care it deserves. Like he really would have, he researched you and put a lot into it. It's really good. I remember that night I was behind the curtain as well. It was just
and even that, like I got him to send it to me, and I've actually framed it up here, and he came to my house, and he couldn't believe that I actually done that.
Wow.
So, I still have it up there with all the other photos and pictures of us framed up here. So I see him every day and think about him every day, and you guys are in that shot as well. So.
Yeah, it's tough.
Excellent. All right, Dust. Now I've known you for like 30 years. You poor guy,
Yeah.
putting up with me.
Right.
I met you. I think when you were. I was going to say 17. No, when you were about 17, I think.
Yeah, 16, 17.
Yep. I rang Daniel out of the blue, looking for some the big LJN figures, the big rubber ones, and one of our
really?
friends. Yeah, one of our friends says, "I'll give this guy Daniel a call. He's a collector." And I said, "All right," because I loved him so much. I thought I'll just give him a call. And after that, Daniel said to come over and have a look and see what I've got. So I'm not sure if I bought any off you or we swapped them and stuff. I think we just spoke about wrestling the whole time.
Yeah, you
Oh,
had
I
to.
can't.
I mean, you had to come to my house because I didn't drive because I was only like maybe 17, and I used to go to the market and find them and clean them up and sell them.
Yeah.
You know,
Really?
yeah, I used to find them for a couple of bucks and sell them for like $10, $15. You know, and
Wow.
then people started collecting them. But yeah, I was already trying to make money in wrestling and I wasn't even in it.
And around that time, they would have been like so hard to come by. So you had to know certain people, yeah.
Well, I used to go to like Caribbean to the trash and treasure markets, and sometimes you go there and you find nothing, and sometimes you find some. You know,
Really?
so it's like pot luck. You know.
Potluck.
So, and then obviously through that, you sort of met other people like Paul and my friend Peter, and you started trading stuff and, you know, networking. But you used to write letters back then. You know?
Yeah. It's amazing. Even like a lot of the tape traders, how they used to communicate was so cool. Like there was no internet or anything like that. So yeah,
No, like I used to, you'd be on your telephone at your parents' house. It'd sort of be near the lounge room, and they'd be like, "Can you keep it down?" Because you'd still have the cord on the phone. That's how long ago it was.
Wow, that's going back. Yep.
So Dust, where did your love for wrestling first started? Did you see it on TV? Was it like on Channel 10 when the Superstars of Wrestling started, or?
Well, I actually started watching it before then because it used to be one match on Widewater Sports, and it'd be a match from Madison Square Garden, and we'd have to sit through about 2 hours of just sport that you wouldn't be even interested in to watch that one match. And
Wow.
then in '85 it came on Channel 10, and my parents didn't like wrestling, but I sort of caught it, and everybody was interested in it at school, primary school. And then around 80, like I could still watch it, but like 85, 86, I really got into it. And from about 87, like WrestleMania 3, that's when I really decided I want to try and get into it. But being a kid, you have no idea, you know. So, and I started working out about 17, or even younger, probably like 15, 16, because that's what I wanted to get into. So.
I always remember the Widewater Sports. They always had the match. It was Sergeant Slaughter versus the Iron Sheik at Madison Square Gardens. I think they played that at least a dozen times.
Yeah, but it was so edited back then, you know, obviously. And then
the match only went for like 3 minutes.
And then they bag it up. They bag it afterwards because, you know, it's a sports program and, you know, they didn't like wrestling really. So
Little did they know that was the biggest segment on the whole show.
Exactly.
We used to play wrestling in primary school, so we'd play like on the bark, and we'd only have like a fence, but it'd only be like a quarter of it, and we'd do like suplexes off the corner of the fence, and hit the ropes, which were the fence, So I actually knew what I wanted to do, or somehow get into some sort of wrestling from like even primary school, like. Even my library display in primary school was a Piper's Pit that I made.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to just you just do what you follow your interests, and it's amazing what you can create. Like even back then, like it was just crazy. Some of the homemade stuff was great merchandise and things because we couldn't get a hold of it, so people would make their own like Hulk Hogan shirts and stuff like that.
Well,
It's
you even think
awesome.
back to that time, there was like no internet.
No,
You know, we got the wrestling magazine. You know, like it was so different back then, not like now.
yeah,
So,
yeah, man. People making rings out of their trampolines and
yeah.
mud pits in their backyard, and
I mean,
it's just
we
awesome.
play wrestled on my friend's trampoline in primary school. You know, and I actually gave my friend a pile driver and like really hurt him bad. You know,
You
because I had
animal.
no
Because
idea,
you're a
knowing
big
what I was
bully.
doing. You know.
Yeah, well, that's all.
So
That's the
growing,
beauty about being a kid. You don't have to think. You just do it.
Nah.
oh yeah.
So, just
Who
go
was your
for it,
favourite
man.
wrestlers growing up, Dust?
Oh, British Bulldogs and Bret Hart. You know, I love like Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid and Bret Hart because I always thought he was cool. You know, like whenever I played wrestling, I was always Davey Boy Smith.
Yeah.
You know, so and it was pretty cool. I got to meet him years later. You know, and I've met his son as well, which was good.
Shit. I saw his son live and at at the Hisen's Arena, and he was really good. He's really good. Is he still wrestling somewhere, or
Yeah. Like he was just
he is?
yeah, he's back in Canada, but you know, when you see him in person, like he's such a big built guy.
Oh yeah.
Tall as well, you know. But he's really nice. You know, Harry, he's pretty cool.
Just that intensity with the British Bulldogs, it really made them a cut above the rest because they came from that the English, scene, and they just the intensity. And once they went to Calgary up to the Stampede, they could really put that into motion in the ring because the Hearts, they loved that sort of style.
And they'd done years in Japan before they even got to WWF at the time. You know, we just didn't know that. You know, like you knew of Dynamite with his matches with Tiger Mask, but you know they'd done so many years in Japan before that. You know, as I said, without the internet, you know, unless you traded tapes and stuff, you didn't know anything. You know?
No, the Bulldogs were just fantastic.
Amazing. And even now, like you watch the matches with the Heart Foundation, they're magic.
Yeah.
Even when they went to the WWE and they did a lot of the squash matches with a lot of the undercard guys, it was just unbelievable. Just how fast they were in the ring, and
you know they're taking massive bumps, and the rings were like concrete back then too. You know, like rings in the '80s compared to what the rings are like now, they're like landing in concrete, and they still did the superplexes and headbutts off the top and stuff to the floor, no padding. You know, amazing stuff.
Well, that's how. Yeah, well, that's why a lot of the guys, especially when they went through the early '70s, all through the '80s and into the early '90s, they all became addicted to drugs and painkillers and everything because they're just working in those rings nightly, every night.
Working hard, you know. I mean, if you're going to be a wrestler like at that time, especially in Japan and stuff, you know, you wanted another tour, so you just went all out. You know, it didn't matter the consequences. You know, you pay for it later on in life. You know, trust me. And
everyone hurts, doesn't it?
You know.
So when it came to being a big fan, like I met you, and then we all got together, and or you went to train with it. Was it Bully when you first started?
Yeah,
well, you met Bully and
yeah.
and
Well, the story.
and...
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you a little quick story. Like I tried to do it in America, and basically I couldn't get a working visa. I had an offer to go to the ECW school, and I tried to get a work visa to go over there because you had to stay there for a long period of time because my parents wouldn't let me just quit my job here because you've got to get a house, all that sort of stuff. So I tried to get a visa and I couldn't get one. So basically, my parents weren't going to let me go over there for 3 months. And then I went to a tattoo shop in Knox City, and I walk in there, and there's a big picture of George and Bully together, and Greg Heasley, who I owe my start, and took me under his wing. I went in there and
That's
he said, "Are
awesome.
you a wrestler?" And he's like, "I actually am." And I was like, how do you get into it here? And he's like, "Well, there's actually a school in Dandenong." And then that's like, close to where I live. And I was like, "Are you serious? I've just been going to America trying to get into it. And there's a school like half an hour away." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he goes, "Look, there's training tomorrow night." He goes, "Meet me back here and I'll take you." So I went down there and met, all the crew at PCW, and it was like a ring set up and everybody was training, and they're like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to get enrolled somehow." I said, "Well, you can start training." And, he used to, take me in the ring, and, Enforcer helped me a lot down there, and Kurt Von Schneider,
Wow.
he was like the head trainer, and Spike Steele, I can really remember Spike helping me a
Big
lot,
Spike.
taking heaps of bumps on my, there was like chipboard with, an inch of padding, and that was it. And because everybody already bumped on it, it was like thin as anything. And, you sort of trained in that, and then you sort of started training in the ring as well. So, and I remember thinking, back to like when I was a kid, I was like a trampoline, taking bumps in the ring, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is
Yeah.
like crazy." Like, I thought this ring was soft, but that's how I started. So, but they used to run the in-house shows, so I started training, and then you referee during training and whatnot, and then they had like the in-house shows, so for the students and the families. So I just, they said, "Oh, we need a referee. What about you?" You sort of try and do that at the start. So I started doing that, in front of like 20 people, 50 people, 30 people, and that's how I started as a referee. So,
That's awesome. What an awesome journey. Some of those names you mentioned. And even, did you ever see Bully the Brawler work, Paulie?
Oh yeah. A couple of times at the rock and roll wrestling at the Prince of Wales, just down the road here.
Just great, like a big grizzly man in spandex, broad shoulders, black, pink colours, white.
Oh yeah.
He was just awesome, and heel or face, he was great. Yeah.
I saw.
but if it wasn't,
Sorry, Dust.
I was going to say, if it wasn't for Bully, I wouldn't have even got into it,
Yeah.
But what he did, he didn't even know me, and he went out of his way to help me, especially like once I sort of got into it, he was great. Great guy too.
The funny thing, when I first sort of met you, I was in George's gym, and you were like doing this bench press with George, and it was, really, really strong and solid. And of course, Paulie, he had the bleach blonde hair, the spray tan on, the nice shiny white teeth, and he looked like a Sting, Sting before the long brown hair with the face paint and all that. But he looked like that surfer era Sting. And I said to George later on, I said, "I can't wait to see that guy wrestle." I said, "That's going to be cool, like, that real pretty boy blonde look." George goes, "Lad, he's a referee, man." I said, "That big, broad, good arms, big wide shoulders." Daniel, you had the look for, either wrestler or ref, so it was good stuff,
Something
man.
along those lines. When I was in Japan, just jumping ahead one time,
Yeah.
I got booked to work this independent show, and I walked in there, and Kikutaro, he told me the story later on, and he's like, I walked in there and I had the bleach hair and the Rivera jacket, and, the bum bag, and they're all talking to each other, going, "Who's this wrestler? Who's this wrestler?"
Yeah, of course.
And I put my ref shirt on afterwards, and he's like, "You referee? You referee?" He goes, "You think wrestler?"
Yeah, of course, because
So
like you're a big guy, so it's this is a rare thing, especially in Japan. They wouldn't have many big refs, would they?
yeah, because like some of the companies said I was actually too big, but when I
Yeah,
worked for All Japan, I was perfect, because they
yeah,
had massive
definitely.
guys,
Yep.
So
Where the big boys play.
that's it.
So here in Melbourne, Dan, You had your first referee. You refereed your first matches. Was it at PCW or was it actually for George? I'm not really. I'm a bit. I didn't come into this scene at that time, so
No, I
you'll have
started
to.
with PCW, and then from PCW I met Enforcer, and at the time Tony Marino was injured. He had a shoulder operation, so he could only do part of the show, and Enforcer recommended me to come down and do some of the matches as well, and through that I met like George and all that sort of stuff, and I ended up getting booked down in Melton for George, and and I worked ACW, and then I went anything I can get my head on, because when you're starting off, people have already got referees, so it's very hard to sort of break into it. So working for ACW was really good for me, because there was a lot of veterans from the older days, and you sort of learn locker etiquette and how to conduct yourself, and you talk to someone when they talk to you, and you just sit there and you learn. And but Tony was really good. Like after I refereed, and I showed him a lot of respect. He was really nice to me, and Dominic liked me as well. So learning that aspect of the business, and how they worked in the ring was totally different than the younger guys. So you listen in there, and all that sort of stuff helped me later on in my career when I went overseas. And as I said, you sort of talk when you're asked to talk, and you don't just walk in and dump your stuff in the locker room. You've got to be asked to come into the locker room. So that really sort of gets you further in the business, and earns the respect of a lot of the guys, and doing the ring and stuff like that as well. Like especially overseas, that's a big thing. So
in Japan, doing the ring is really big. Is big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like even like the top guys do it, but like even for example, like I was booked to work for All Japan, and I said, what time do you want me there to do the ring? And they're like, no, you don't have to do it. And I said, no, I'll be there. And they said, okay, be here at like it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was there before everybody else got there. And
Wow.
you think these guys do it every show, on tour. So time they did one trip to the truck, I did two. I said, no, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Wow.
And even like one of the guys came up to me and said, you're a hard worker. You got your spot. You're always welcome back anytime you want.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome. And the fact that you were able to see that side of it too, you put all the pieces together. Like these guys do it all the time on the road, so I'm going to put in a bit extra just to help out, because they do it pretty hard being on the road and on tour. So no, that was really big of you, Daniel. It's
I mean, even like jumping forward, like even when I worked for Dragon Gate, I was in Tokyo. I got the bullet train to Kobe, which is if you drive it's like 9 hours. I was there 3 hours. I got on the train at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was there at 9 o'clock.
Shit.
Get to the building, introduce myself, put my bag down, start doing the ring straight away. Don't even have to be asked.
Yeah.
That's what you do, and especially over there, if you're a foreigner and you want this spot, you got to prove that you that you got that spot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to earn it. There's somebody else will come and take it. And the spot
definitely. I always like the respect of how the Japanese, how they respect the sport so much. I think it's they make it more a part of their culture. I think that's just that's awesome compared to the rest of the world. I like that. I like that respect they show.
Well,
you follow a lot of go.
Japanese wrestling, it's all like the sumo dojo, from the bottom to the top, So, you do the right thing, you'll go a long way, Like just and you got to have someone recommend you, otherwise you're not going. It's like, and you do the right thing, and you can have, you can have a long career, and people don't forget you, and
Yeah.
You know, that's the love. That's the good thing about Japan. You know, it's always there, and the people there are just amazing if you do the right thing.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
know?
You need to have someone over there that can vouch for you.
Yeah,
I mean, and that you've proven yourself to them because, yeah, a couple of wrestlers I don't know names, but some went over from here that didn't even have a booking. And they went over there and thought that they would just say, hey, I'm a wrestler, and they'd give them a run. And they got over there and there was nothing available. And they were like, it was kind of tragic to see on the internet. They were begging, hey, I'm in Japan. If there's any bookings, can someone please contact me, It's like, wow, you haven't organised anything before you went over. It's yeah, you gotta go through you gotta do it the right way.
like I've heard of guys
Definitely.
that have gone there from the States and they've done the wrong thing and they haven't even had a match and they've been sent home.
Yeah. It's you gotta use your head a little bit, don't you?
That's it.
He's explained this picture, Dust. Little do you know, after we spoke this afternoon, I rated your photos on Facebook. So here's some that you don't know that I've got. Tell us about this one.
Well, that's my first time in Japan and my first visit to Ribera's. Probably I'm actually about 80 kilos there. I'm actually 80 kilos. So,
Holy shit.
80 kilos,
That is
brother.
a great photo.
yeah, that bandana's all due to Sebastian Picanha in the States. So, blame him for that. But
Awesome.
I
actually,
remember. Sorry,
but
Dust.
before that, that's when I went to Japan for 3 days on the way to the States. And, that's when I went to America to work for TNA, and they said you have to be 80 kilos. And I was about 100 plus at the time before that.
Wow.
And I got down to 80 kilos in about 3 months.
Be surprised how much motivation good opportunity can give you, isn't it?
Well, at that time, I didn't eat any junk food. I just did weights, at my house, I had no air conditioning at the time. And at that time I was going to George's too, so sometimes I go there on a Sunday and lift weights just because I could.
Yeah.
So
I remember you were always training though.
Yeah, Paul used to ring me and I'd always be doing weights after work.
Daniel, I used to ring Daniel up and he'd answer the phone. He says, "Oh, Paul, I'm working out. Hang on a sec." He says, "Paul," I go, "Yeah." "Oh, can you just wait a sec? I've just got to do another rep of 12. You put the phone down, you hear, lift. I'll be there on the phone going, "Oh, you can't." I'm looking at the clock going, "I can't." And Daniel get back on, "Yeah, man." And we'd talk for another 5 minutes or a couple of minutes. Danny goes, "Hey, I've got to do another rep." And so the phone would go down and lift and stuff. But he was into it. You got to give him that.
Yeah, definitely. Like even Robert Chop, do you remember Chop the ref?
Yeah.
He used to train weights. Hey, he was in good shape, and he looked after himself.
The thing is, you can be ring shape, but you had to be in shape, and also too, we were doing shows at least twice a week, and I was working a 60-hour week and doing weights 4 or 5 times a week, but I could go, when I used to do the shows in Ballarat, I'd do a 3-hour show, in the summertime in a giant shed down there, but I was always thinking, eat right, train. My whole life was wrestling, So.
Yeah. Were you like in those Ballarat shows you mentioned doing a 3-hour? Were you the only ref at the time?
Yep. In the summertime.
That's big.
You'd have guys come out and they go, "Man, it's hot," and you're sweating buckets,
Yeah.
But all that sort of stuff, kept you in ring shape and in shape, like when I did the stuff with Dragon Gate, man, I pushed my body to the limit on that 2-week tour. And I was in Japan for 3 weeks before that doing other shows,
Wow.
So, I did 5 weeks in Japan. So
It's big.
yeah.
Big stuff.
Just
3 hours a
get-
long time under the lights, Paulie.
Oh yeah. Well, when I used to be the commissioner at in PWA, I was out there for the whole show, and yeah, that was interesting. Sort of under the lights, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was a lot of
it's
responsibility back
considerable.
then.
You used to sweat my fake tan off.
So, Dust, just coming back to Melbourne, talking about when you're refereeing in PWA and PCW and stuff. Not trying to get anything confused, which I easily get confused, as both of you know. I'll put up this photo, Dust, and tell me a bit about these two guys and you working with them in the ring. Have a look at this one.
Yep, Lee Star and Spike Steele. I think that was taken at the Comedy Club, that show.
Mm.
And I remember something quickly about that show. I remember like everybody's like, when we used to do the ring and stuff, like you used to tape up the spring just to hold it in place when it was traveling.
Yeah.
Really?
And at the end of the show, they go, God, that ring was stiff. And somebody had forgotten to take all the tape off, so the spring was compressed. But and that ring was hard enough as it is because it used to be a boxing ring, But those two guys, Lee Star and Spike Steele, great guys.
Ooh, awesome.
I mean, Spike Steele was like not only a great
Phenomenal.
guy, but just such amazing wrestler. Like, I
Yeah.
always wanted to see him go to Japan because he was just so good. Lee Star was awesome as well. Great guy, lots of fun to work with. Everybody in PWA was like, great time, a great company ran by Lobo. For me, it was like the next step up from, the ACW. Spending a lot of time in the ring with quality guys. And you learn. You have to do the ring. You have to help promote. We all work together for everybody in the company. But you learn so much because you're doing so many regular shows at such a higher level. That sort of really, that took me to the next level as well. I was lucky, everything was a step up for me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, guys like that, like Lee Star, Spike Steele, like Spike was just so good. Amazing.
Definitely.
Always training at George's. I remember him, one day, like he was looking at crackers and everything, and we were all there going out somewhere, and he comes in and, I've spent at George's, and he's got like a whole big massive packet of broccoli and steak. That's how dedicated he was to training, and we're all going out in the town somewhere,
He was a savage, no doubt about it. He really was. I've seen him, Paulie, and I think I went to like one Dragonfly show or two when Lobo was running it, and just seeing Spike walk out, he was awesome. He just had a glow about him.
Well, I said Daniel this afternoon when we were having a bit of a chat. I actually remember you when you came to the Dragonfly because I've never saw you in person before, and you came through. Yeah, you came through in the entranceway or from the foyer into the large room, and I just went, whoa. I go, who's that? And someone told me, oh, that's Iron Horse from NAW. And I thought, holy Jesus, he's a big guy. And everything. I didn't know. I really didn't know much about you, brother, at all back then. And I had to get someone to fill me in who you were. But that was great. I probably got Daniel to tell me later on.
Yeah.
But also, I can remember like Ray telling me, that you came into George's and he goes, oh, there's this massive guy there. Because you came in kind of heavy, but then you got in really good shape. And Ray was saying, man, you should see this guy. He's a monster. But, our paths never crossed,
No, we didn't because it was so. We've touched on it a few times, Paulie. It was really competitive there for a while between all the promotions, and and a lot of the wrestlers stuck to their home promotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that particular show when I came, George was invited there by Lobo for some particular reason, and George said, "Kane, you have to come with me." And I said, "Yeah, no worries." But that was so competitive during that time. You know,
But everybody was so busy back then with their own
yeah,
companies.
yeah.
You're on one side of town, we're up, on this side of town.
On the other side,
So,
yeah. Yeah, it was like, and there was a lot of politics too, like flying around between, there was people was, I don't want to get into it, but it was a hectic time. Oh yeah, brother. Like I remember one wrestler, he got booked he was working for us at the time, and I won't mention his name, but he got a spot on one at Lobo's Dragonfly shows, and he told the boys there that the Iron Horse is afraid of coming down there because everyone's going to bash him up. He doesn't want to work the Dragonfly because Cremator's going to murder him, and oh my God, he's hiding and everything. And I had like Cremator's missus was messaging me. She's like, Kane, I promise he won't hurt you if you come down. I mean, and I was like, what the fuck's going on, man?
Yeah.
And then I had like big Seth Max. Do you remember Seth Max?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, bro, you should come down. We're not going to beat you up, man. I'm like, what the fuck's this all about? Someone told them that I was afraid. The only thing I don't do is I don't do, brother. Is I'm not a hardcore wrestler. That's it. Any other match, fine, man. Big brawls, smack-ons. I don't mind big slugs with weapons. I just don't like slicing myself up. But anyway, back to you guys.
But for me, like back in those days, as I said, you were so focused on your own company,
Yeah.
You hear rumours and there's people that, people would say this and that, but, back then too, I think there was only MySpace, if that. I didn't even have that at the time. So,
yeah, like when I first, when I first met Lobo Henry, I was humbled. Like I was, because I'd only heard rumours of him, They're like, Lobo did this, Lobo did that. And I was just in awe, like, this guy must be so awesome. And, he lived up to his name. He's just such a great guy. Like, when I met him, I was so humbled. I was like, wow, this is just a true professional. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Lobo's done so much for me, he put words in for me.
What a guy.
State and on the super shows and stuff like that. So,
yeah, he's another guy that has a glow about him, like that professional wrestling glow where you just feel professional and secure when he's around, and everything's controlled, and it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, Henry was able to speak to all the wrestlers on the same level.
Without
so he, and he always gave everyone a chance. He always gave you a chance, and he always gave you something easy to do. And he was very humble about it, and he always took the time to listen to you, listen to your thoughts and your ideas, and and that was really good. We all learned a lot from him. It was very
everybody worked hard in PCW, from like even like Ruby, Ruby used to do the ring. We'd be unpacking the ring at 3 o'clock in the morning with Jay Andrews, Lobo, Rose,
Slacks,
all the sound stuff. With Rob, everybody did the ring. We all promoted, everything. Everybody worked as a team, for the company.
Mike Burr went to a 21st.
Yeah, always, He was
he had an 18th. He had more 18th and 21st birthdays to go to than anyone in living memory.
I love Mike Burr. I've always liked Mike Burr. He's great. I love him. God love him.
He's got the best superplex in the business.
Yeah, yeah. He's awesome. He's great.
Yeah, I hope he comes back to NAW and does a couple of matches before he retires. I'd
Yeah, man.
really love to see him back at NAW, back at his home, working with George and us down there. Mike, if you're watching
Definitely.
this, make sure
That'd be a
put that on
huge
the
treat
list.
for the guys. The guys can learn a lot from him,
Speaking about teaching guys, Dust, have a look at this photo. Tell them about these guys. That's an old one.
Who are these young guys? That photo was taken at the AWF Psychotic Slam Tour.
Sorry about the quality.
I don't even know what year that is. 2000s, maybe before. Before that.
Yeah, early 2000s. As you can see, people, that's me on the left. That's Dusty with a gold jacket. He's probably still got that one.
That was the closest thing I could get to a Rivera jacket at the time.
Referee Dave Morgan there, looking very young. Well, he was young back then. Not now. He's an old man now. Take that, Dave, if you're listening. And our good friend Peter Kellick, who we nicknamed Bubba Ray. Bubba Ray Kellick. Huge mountain of a man.
He used to be able to do moonsaults at the time.
I met Peter at the radio station here in Melbourne I used to work at called 3PBS FM, and he used to do the comedy show. And we were good friends for a long time. And then I didn't see him for a number of years. And when Laz had the wrestling nights at the pub in Victoria Parade in Collingwood, Peter was there. And I didn't know that Peter was a huge wrestling fan. So I started talking to him, and he told me he used to go to the Festival Hall days back in the late 60s and all through the 70s and everything. It was just fantastic. So I introduced him to Daniel and to Dave Morgan, and Peter come to a lot of shows. He's a great guy, great knowledge about wrestling, huge mark. Stuff's been overseas with Daniel, been to the ECW arena.
Yep. Like Peter went 3 weeks after I went originally, and then when I was there, and then he went, everybody's like, you know this guy Daniel? And he's like, no, I don't know him. And because he knew Paul, I got introduced to him about a month later, and he goes, oh, everybody keeps on asking about this Daniel guy. And it was me, But little did we know we had a mutual friend,
Yeah,
So,
great guy, Peter. He ended up, it's a bit of a long story, I'll make it really short. He ended up with a pair of Rob Van Dam's tights.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Can
he
we
still
tell
has.
the story?
Yeah, you can tell the story. The fans will love this one.
Go for it.
Yeah, there was I forget the wrestler's name, but he was from Germany. And they did like a tour of England and Germany. And the wrestler was over there. And then he went to the States and he saw Peter, and Peter was talking to him or something. He might have been at an NWA show in the States, something like that. Al Thurman, the wrestler's name. And Peter was going, oh, I'm going to, what are you doing after this? He goes, I'm going to the ECW shows. He's like, oh, do you know Rob Van Dam? And Peter's like, yeah, I know who he is. He's like, well, I've got his tights. Do you mind giving them to him? And Peter's like, yeah, no worries, I'll give them to him. So he gives them to him, and Peter kept them. And they were like his tights that he got done for when he was working for WWF at the time. He'd done something for WCW and ECW, so it had all that specially made all over his tights, and Peter's still got them today. And he actually told Rob Van Dam years later when he was here, and he goes, oh, don't worry, you can keep them. But Peter's actually put it on him. He's worn it himself, so I don't think Rob would want him back.
Actually, oh, what a classic and stuff. Dust, going back again to the old PCW days. Here's a photo of you that I actually took of you in the ring at Carnage. I don't think you had the best night looking at this photo.
Ooh.
Well, that's Big John Howard throwing me from the ring to the floor. He's like, oh, I've got an idea, because at that time they were doing the UWA invasion angle, and they attacked everybody in the ring, and John's like, oh. So I'd actually done the spot with him early at some show at the big market, and he was like, I've got a spot for you. He goes, do you reckon you could do this? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it, no worries. And you don't realise actually how high it is until it's got you up there. And you're like, man, I hope I clear the ropes, but you know, it's a pretty big bump to take. But at that time, I'd only been in wrestling maybe like 3 months. So I was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I
It was a
bet they
full-on
were really happy when they heard that.
Yeah. But I was surprised, like, John managed to get my, you know, lard-ass body up there at the
It
time.
looks like a strong boy.
Oh, John was, you know. But even, like, years later, I had the blonde hair as well, and everybody used to go, is that your dad, is it? You know. But then John used to say, is Peter my dad? You know.
Yeah.
And I used to get called. People used to say, "Was I your brother?" If we were brothers too.
Yeah, because we were always seen together, all three of us, and Morgan, you know. So, but John was a great guy, and he's always been good to me over the years, you know. Like even he did tours with Zach, what was it Zach Wild?
Yeah,
Who's,
and
you
Ozzy.
know, when Ozzy Osbourne was here, and he's
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
we're staying at the hotel. He's like, you know, because he was affiliated. He was this record label or something to do with Zach. He's like, yeah, just come to the hotel and I'll let you in. And we go there and it's like, you know, me and Morgie, there's like, shit, hundreds of fans out the front. And John comes out and brings us in. And everybody's like, well, these two idiots, you know. And we're sitting at the bar with like Kelly Osbourne and Zach. And then we went back the next day and hung out with Zach Wild. It was like talking wrestling because he's a big wrestling fan as well. You know, so John's been a great guy for many, many years.
Yeah. Ozzy and Zach
That's
were
awesome.
they were great together. There's a live DVD of Ozzy live in Budokan in Japan from the early 2000s, and it's absolutely fantastic. One to track down stuff.
Which I actually have. So
Now I've got a copy of that as well, and the CD.
yeah.
Speaking about rock and roll, Dan, I know you've got rock and roll tattooed on you, like I do. Rock and roll forever.
Yep.
Here's one, brother. Have a look at this one. This is a photograph that Daniel took when he was young. Probably one of the best photographs I've ever seen.
Whoa, that is sick.
Yeah. That's Sarah McLeod from the Super Jesus.
Okay.
My favourite band.
Yeah, one of my favourite bands as well. She's still around, actually playing in Queensland at the moment, doing some solo shows. But as I said, that's, you know, we'll look at that again because it's such a great photo.
It is awesome.
Yeah, playing that SG, Gibson SG.
You took that photo, Dan?
Yeah, I actually took it at the Mercury Lounge, like, you know, back, and that photo was actually taken on just like an old camera, you know, no zoom or anything, like the old film where you, you know. So I was lucky. Like they played a lot around this area. Like Morgie loves them as well, and you know I was actually able to go to a lot of their gigs, and I met Tim Henwood, and he was playing for the band at the time.
Yeah,
and they used to just let me, you know, hang around and come backstage a bit, and, you know. But yeah, I took lots of photos, and that's probably one of the best photos I took.
Everyone knows that I hate photos. Like I'm not a big photo guy, but if you need a job, Dan, I'd be. Look, if you need a job as a cameraman, I mean, I know it's not as glorious. I can't get you to Japan or anything, but I can get you on Facebook. You know,
Yeah,
it'll be like we'll get your own watermark and everything. You know, and then you can be all like, hey, don't crop my watermark out. That's my photo. You know, you can be all like, you can become a part of that world where it's aggressive and you're back in the game, Dan. You're in it, son. The powerhouse photographer, Daniel Beaumont, you know?
With an old school camera.
Yeah. No, I love it, bro.
Fantastic.
Great photo, great story.
Yeah,
great band. We're a really good band, you know. But
tell me, Daniel, did you ever referee any of my ex-tag partners' matches? The mighty War Dog Frank Carpenter. Did you ever do any of his matches? No.
I actually did. I did at the Dragon fight. Yeah.
Oh,
Him
wow.
and his
How was
partner did
that?
it was good, it had only been refereeing maybe 6 months,
Yeah?
but
Who
like with
was he
Frank,
partnered with then?
the guy with the mask who from Adelaide as well.
Ah,
I'm not sure of his name.
yeah.
But Frank looked like the wrestler, he was tanned, he had the scars, the dyed
Yeah.
black hair, and
He's
but
awesome.
they were two of the sort of guys that I'm talking about from when I started. They were there, sitting
Yep.
there, they'd wrestled in the older days, so you learn, and they came in with the Halliburton sort of suitcase,
Yep.
and they had proper boots, they had proper tights, you know,
Just an
they
awesome feeling about him, isn't there?
yeah, but they did basic work, but like how wrestling was, and they talked in
Yeah.
the ring too, so you're always listening, and it was a great experience, and he was really nice to me, like
Yeah.
all those. But as I said,
I
you sort
love
of
Frank.
spoken to,
Yeah.
you know.
He and I had a rough start, but I'll cherish being his tag partner forever. That was awesome, Paulie. Do you know, Paul, I had to split him and George up the very first time I got involved in one of Frank's matches. I had to split them up in the ring. They got into like a big brawl, and I came out from the back to split them up. But what happened was the whole locker room ran out behind me, and they started brawling on the outside of the ring, and it just turned into a big cluster because I got in the ring, and everyone was punching on outside the ring, and I'm trying to split up George, and I was like, shit, this is all shit. It didn't work, and I walked over to Frank, and he just boom plastered me, brother. Sucker punched me straight in the nose. Blood straight down. That was the first encounter I had with him, and I give it to him after that. I clocked him, knocked him to the floor, kicking him, and it was real bad. And I was waiting for someone to walk backstage with a gun and shoot me. After that, and because Frank has a lot of friends, and he come up to George backstage and he goes, "I want the big guy as my tag partner next time." And then he told the Italian Tank, he said, "I want the big guy as my partner, the big guy as my partner." And then I agreed. So it was amazing. I'm glad you got to work with him, Dan. It was
But you learn so much
awesome.
from those sort of guys because they've been around the business and they know wrestling.
Yeah,
Like us, we know wrestling now because we've been in it a long time, But
yeah,
when you're starting out, like they make it look so easy and they're not nervous. I remember walking into the ACW dressing room for the first time. I was like, ready to like shit bricks, And you walk in there and there's these guys that have been in the business that long and you shake their hand, but you got to earn their respect. But after you
yeah,
work with them, they go, you did a good job. You sort of become part of it. It's like the mafia. You're in. You
yeah.
know,
With
you know.
those guys, there was a big mafia feel to them. Fat Dominic
Oh
and Frank.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
heard all the stories before that too. But enforcers like,
Mm.
just stick with me, you'll be fine. Do the right thing. But afterwards, it was it was great. But it was like being inducted into the mafia when you first went down there.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the guys in one of our tag matches, he got on Frank's shit list big time, and Frank was real angry on him backstage, but he didn't do nothing. And this guy was a mechanic outside of wrestling, and a couple of weeks later, some guy snuck into this mechanic's garage and lowered the jack on him while he was laying under the car.
Jeez.
And yeah, and that was how uh, you just don't muck around. You just do your job, and yeah, crazy stuff. But that's what it was like. That's how serious the business was
Was
to these boys.
yeah. It's not a joke,
Yeah.
Like it's
No.
you know.
Yep. Yeah. You don't.
Paul's
The
talking, but we
Italian
can't hear him.
Tank and Paul, your mic's muted.
There you go.
How did I do
There you
that?
go, champ.
You guys are lucky not being able to listen to me. Sorry about that, guys. Now, Dan, talking about guys who take the business very seriously, I've got a photo of one of Kane's favourite wrestlers, and you're with him. Have a look at this one, brother.
Wow.
Tell me who this is.
That's a big bad booty daddy. Big Scotty. Hey.
Scott was pleased to get that photo taken. I think after that photo, he just pushed past everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
He doesn't take no shit, the big Scotty.
I love the style.
No.
Like Rick's really nice and friendly. Scott's not.
God bless him.
I saw that photo of you and Rick Steiner.
Yeah,
I think I might have downloaded that one. I think I might have it here somewhere. But
Rick's totally opposite to Scott. Like as said, after that picture, Scott just like pushed past everybody. He didn't even say excuse me. He just kept walking. You know.
was that actually in Chapel Street? When didn't they come here for?
Yeah, they were out here for that WWA tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure where that. Some hotel somewhere we used to stalk them, find out where they were staying. So,
Classic. That was
I love it.
a classic moment. Another classic. Another quick story from me, if you don't mind, Dust. We went to there's two good stories that I've always told. One, when the WWF came out and they did the first show at the Telstra Dome, and we went. And you said to me one afternoon, Colin Paul, we're going to go down to the casino because that's where they were staying.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I trunched and went down to the casino and everything. Bob the Cat's trying to get in the door here, little menace. We went down to the casino anyway. Daniel and I were just standing around, and there was a couple of the wrestlers there, and we got a couple of autographs and everything. And we looked behind us, and there was this young guy standing behind us, and I thought, Dan, who's this guy? And Dan has a look, and he goes, oh, his face looks familiar, and everything. Then we worked out it was Randy Orton. Randy Orton was just standing behind us because he was probably fresh from OVW. He only worked, a bit in the WWF or WWE at the time, going up to the Major League. And he was just standing there. And so Daniel and I went up to him and we introduced ourselves and we started talking to him. And blow me down, we were there for like half an hour and he was just talking to us. We were talking about his father. And he stayed there with us. He just loved talking to us for, half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever. I just said to Dan, oh, my God. And we were just saying, how much we loved his dad and, Piper and Orton and everything. And he was in the conversation. And then after that, we didn't really think much of it. And then, of course, 10, 15 years later, you look back at it, and I've said to Daniel, a couple of times, boy, we were talking to the guy who's probably one of the biggest wrestlers in the world today. And he was just standing there like a normal guy and everything. It was just incredible. And there was another good story, a rock and roll story. We were at the casino, I think it was that night, and there was a foyer. And right next to the foyer were the lifts. And the lifts came down. There was probably about, 30 or 40 wrestling fans there waiting for the wrestlers to come down. So wrestlers came down and some of the agents were there and all signing autographs and all having fun, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly I heard the lift door go bing, and the door opens and out walks Jimmy Barnes. And I'm onto it like a ton of bricks because, a big Cold Chisel fan ever since I was a kid and everything. And it was a time where Barnesy wasn't really big. He didn't have any hits for a couple of years and everything. And he comes through and he sees all the kids and the wrestlers signing autographs. And he had a bit of a down look on his face. So I went,
Were you there, Dan? Was you there?
Yeah.
So what I did, brother and Dan, I put my hand up to my mouth and go, look, everyone, it's Barnesy. And all the kids just went, oh, and they went straight over to Barnesy to get an autograph and everything. And Barnesy puts his head up after a couple of minutes, sees me, and he goes, "Good on you, mate," and everything. I thought, wow, Barnesy and everything. And you know what? Stupid me didn't even go over there and get a photo or an autograph. And then just later on, I just went, "You idiot."
You could have bought him a VB stubby and went and got a picture. Mate, he would have been wrapped.
I don't know. I think we ended up talking to Michael Cole for some reason. Oh, God, what a waste of time that was. Michael Cole. But we got to meet. I got to meet Rey Mysterio, Devon Dudley. Got a photo taken with him. Daniel knew most of the guys and how the best way to get autographs was. And I wasn't really into meeting, the wrestlers at the time. I know Daniel was. He's met a lot of guys, but I wasn't really too into it. It just wasn't my thing.
Jerry Lawler and Bret Hart.
Yep. Didn't get to meet Jerry Lawler and Bret Hart. Bret Hart, that's one of my all-time favorite photographs and everything. So, but going on to, working in Japan, those first couple of tours, Dust, it must have been, hard, very hard on you because you had to, save money to go over there and then work out all the itinerary of what you were going to do, a lot of time on the phone with the people that you met and everything. How did you find doing that?
Well, at the time when I first started doing that, I didn't even have an email address. I used to have, I had an email address, but I didn't have a computer. So it was at my mum's house. So I used to have to go there and she'd go, "Oh, you got an email from Madman Pondo." So I'd come over there, read it, but how I met Pondo is Mike Altamura was writing for a magazine here and he did an interview with Pondo and I said, "Oh, I'd love to go to Japan." And he's like, I go, "Have you got his contact?" He's like, "Yeah." So I sent him an email and, Pondo emailed me back. And he's like, "If you want to send a videotape over there, send it to me. I'm going to Japan. I'm there all the time." He's going there 3 months at a time, coming home for a week, going back for another 3 months, coming home for 2 days, going back. So I sent my videotape and he said, "I'll take it over there." And basically, he said, "They'll use you," because I'd actually done the stuff in the States already. And he's like, "If you come over here," he goes, "I can't guarantee anything, but I can try." So I went over there and, somehow managed to get a hold of him. I went to Corrigan Hall and there was a big Japan wrestling poster. And there was Yuki, the referee, and I was like, Madman Pondo? And she's like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm trying to get hold of him." She's like, "Oh, I'll call him for you." So she gets her phone, she rings him. She's like, "Oh, Pondo's on the phone." And he's like, "I'm at this show. Can you come there tonight?" So through his wife at the time, we managed to figure out how to get there. We met him, and he's like, we went out for dinner after the show with him, and he's like, "Oh, I'll leave it with me, and I'll contact you tomorrow." And there was a big show at Yokohama Arena coming up, and he's like, he spoke to the booker, and he's like, "This ref's done, stuff with TNA, and he's here. Do you reckon you could use him? You can do our match or something like that." And he rang me back the next day, and he's like, "You're on."
That's awesome.
And my first show over there was in front of 6,000 people. And at the time, I was doing PWA stuff, in front of 150 to 200 people, and that's how I started with Big Japan. And then through Pondo, we all went out to dinner one time with the Danger Steakhouse, and Mazawa was there because he was friends with Pondo and he was doing All Japan. And I gave him my video. I had videotapes and pictures. And I gave him that. And he was like, "Oh, see what I could do." And that's how I got in with All Japan. But back then too, you actually have to ring an office. I used to ring the 01 office from home, and just then I got an email address, and that's how it all sort of started. But it was hard, but because back then too I had a full-time job here and I just bought the house, so you couldn't just quit the job to go over there. So
exactly,
I'd go once a year, or I'd go, sometimes I'd go twice a year. But I always stayed in contact with the guys, and then once you got Facebook and MySpace, it was a lot easier. It was step by step, but it really really took a long time to sort of get your foot in the door.
It would have been. How'd you find the language barrier there? Like,
It was funny, like with wrestling, you have a misconception of what it's going to be like over there, but once you got there, it was pretty much the same, you
Yep.
know. And there's always someone that could speak, English or basic English, and then, you just went out there and, I was a referee that reacted like it was in the ring, like how I saw it was how I reacted. So
yeah,
over
they're
there, it was, that's how I sort of refereed, and because I look different too, like with the bleached hair, and people like reacted to that. So even when I
definitely.
walked out in the ring, like you got a reaction, and you walked out and you stood in the ring too, like people were like, "Oh, who's this guy?"
And their heels roughed you up a little bit.
Not really. Like Big Japan was sort of like really hardcore, crazy, bloody matches.
High risk stuff. Yeah.
And I was always working with Pondo, or we do like we did some little tours with a heap of the Australian guys on there, and that was cool. Like we saw different parts of Japan, and got picked up and driven around by the mafia, and that was interesting. I said to Jay Andrews, like we were in a car, and all the curtains closed in the car. They're going to kill us now, and he's like, "Don't say that." But it was great. Like I've been on the bus with guys like Masada and Too Tough Tony, and it was just so much fun. And Pondo.
What about what's that guy we're talking about? Paulie Inoki?
Antonio Inoki?
Antonio Inoki. Was he still involved when you were there?
He was involved with New Japan because he owned New Japan, but I never worked for New Japan. But one time we were at an airport and we're all sitting there about to leave, and I go to Jay Andrews, I go, "Look, there's Antonio Inoki," and he goes, "Yeah, right." I go, "No, serious, look," and he was walking down the stairs.
Because he was like something to do with like politician over there as well, or something.
Yeah, he became like a Senate member or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
wow. What a story.
Speaking of going places in Japan, Dan, one of your biggest loves of your whole life must be the Ribera Steakhouse.
Of course.
Now, just give a quick background on the Ribera Steakhouse and what the jackets mean to wrestlers.
Well, I mean, Ribera Steakhouse, the original one's in Gotunda, and that's the Gotunda one, and it's been there since 1972, and the same person runs it, which is the father, and it was near a hotel where all the guys stayed. And, probably like the late 70s, 78, 79, Brody was walking around, Bruiser Brody.
Wow.
And he found that steakhouse and he went in there. And, the father was a wrestling fan. And so, they were going back quite regularly, on all the tours. So every time he went back to this hotel, he'd go there and he started taking the other guys there. And then, at first it was like Brody, then Hanson, and the Road Warriors and all that sort of stuff. And then, through the decades, if you're a wrestler, you went from maybe the mid 80s, they started doing the Ribera jackets. And, for me, I saw Ribera jackets for 20 years, and I was like, I'd love to just go there one day. And I was lucky to go there quite a lot of times, but that jacket there that Paul's got, I gave to him, and even tonight,
there it is.
I'm wearing,
that's that one.
See that? I'm wearing
Hold on, Danny.
Oh, the Zubaz.
Oh, you got your Zubaz.
Ribera Zubaz.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
how many jackets do you have, Daniel?
Like about 6.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
I got Ribera pants, Ribera Zubaz.
I'd need one of those custom made, wouldn't I?
Well, they would have your size. You know, they have the big. That's the thing. Like you go everywhere else in Japan, everything's small, but you go to Rivera's and they got everything custom made for big guys.
Yeah, because Big Van Vader had one, so
they loved him there.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, they're definitely. Now, here's another photo. It's Vader time. That's right. Here's another photo, Dan, from another place you like to go to in Japan. Tell us about this one.
Oh, Killer Khan's. Yeah, that's a pretty cool place. Like, we spent New Year's Eve there this year with the great legendary Fumi Saito and Seizawa. And, we had a great meal there. It was, like, awesome. Perfect way to spend New Year's Eve. We even saw, like, Killer Khan sing that night. So, but that place has only been there maybe a couple of years in that spot. But it's a great restaurant. Like, some great pictures there and awesome food, well worth a visit.
I'd love to go.
Yeah.
But I need 2 aeroplane seats, Paulie. 2, not 1. So what? You're the manager. 2 aeroplane seats.
And then there's one for me and one for Lowe's. I might need 2 as well because my ass is getting a bit big now. I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I need one for Aaron. Might need one for De Niro as well.
Got to bring the war dog. We're forgetting Dan. We need our guide over there.
Oh, Dan will be there. Don't worry. If we go over there, Dan will be there for sure.
Fucking oath he will be.
Now,
we'll take Sue Shooter the whole lot.
No, we won't be able.
No, we're gonna bring the whole fucking show with us. Sue Shooter. Sue Shooter. We'll take George. War Machine. Fucking Crackerjack. Get the strippers going. No, sorry. Are you awake, Aaron? No, I love you, baby. We'll get the whole lot going, mate. All right, continue with your story.
We're not allowed 5Ks out of the area at the moment.
Exactly,
we can't even do wrestling shows. No. Now, Dan, we're all over the shop tonight with your wrestling career and everything, and dropping names that we really shouldn't, but it doesn't matter. That's Powerhouse Live. I can tell you where Kane lives one day, but you probably need a cut lunch to get there. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Let's
it's all going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Daniel's welcome at this house anytime.
we got to make it back to our big
I'll go to Dusty's house one day. You too, Paulie. We'll go over there and fire the spa up.
All of us in the spa. Now, Daniel,
Big James got in there.
Yeah, to talk about getting Big James in the spa. How was that?
James loved it.
Yeah.
Because James came over here and I cooked him pizzas and stuff. And then we went in the spa and afterwards he said, I can't say what he said, but he was so relaxed, He was so relaxed. He was like nearly falling asleep on the couch. He was that relaxed.
Probably never. That's probably the first spa he's been in. It's
classic.
He was such a James was such a do it hard sort of guy. Yeah. He wasn't. He was awesome.
James had me. I went round. Sorry, Dust. I went round to James's place one night after. Well, I only knew him for maybe a couple of years, and we weren't really, great friends until he came into Powerhouse. And one night, James says, "I'll come around, Paul, and we'll have a couple of drinks and we'll get pizza and everything." I said, "Oh, great! That'd be great. Go around to James's place because James is a great talker, and we love music and collectibles and everything." Sure enough, it was like the middle of winter, and we were sitting out the back of his place, and fuck, it was cold. I was sitting there, and James, he had jackets on and everything. It was warm, and we got pizza and drinking and everything. It was the best night. We became such great friends. And just his whole outlook on life and wrestling, and he was saying, when I get back to, NAW and then in the ring, with Powerhouse, we're going to slam these guys and bloody smack them and and lariats and everything. I might even come off the top rope. And I'm there going, calm down, James, calm down. You're not going off the bloody top rope, brother. And, he's getting all excited and out of his chair and everything. And it was a great night.
He was awesome, wasn't he? He was just, when he cut loose in the ring was just fantastic to watch. It really was.
He did that two-legged drop. He did. Sorry,
you love people's company,
Yeah.
Like if you come out for lunch, and you'd actually cook something really good for him, and I'd do I give him his chilies, and he was so appreciative. He's like, man, I'd do dessert as well, and I had strawberries out of my garden. And he's like, this is a good piece of cheesecake. That's a good strawberry, Dan. But, he'd leave here with boxes of chilies and strawberries and salad, and then he'd message me during the week and say how much he enjoyed it, and I love giving him my pickled chilies. I used to say to him, how do you cook them? Do you use them? He goes, man, I just eat them out of the jar. I was like, funny hell, crazy. He's just drinking with wine and beer, and he said, after I finished eating, and he goes, he just used the oil to cook stuff. He loved it.
I brought this whiskey one time, Paulie, and it was in a monkey bottle. It was a bottle shaped as a monkey, and it was a single malt whiskey off the top shelf. And I went to James's, and we never opened it. And he rang me, and he goes, Kane, I noticed he goes, you left that monkey here, and I said, do you know what, James? Just have it. He goes, you know what? I might go and have a bit of that monkey right now, I think, and he rang me, the same sort of deal, rang me a few days later. Yep, I had the monkey, and that's about all I remember. He's awesome.
To my house. He come to my house for lunch, and I go, do you want a beer? And he goes, no beer, Dan. He goes, I had a lip full last night.
Yeah, when I went round that night to his place, he was good at drinking beer. He was very much sponsored by VB. Whoa, Jesus.
Oh, mate.
He'd always, bring a bottle of red wine for me or something, and he gave me a couple of bottles of wine, and then at work I got a couple of bottles of wine from Brenda and Michelle, who I work with, and I said, I've got that much wine now, I actually need to get a wine rack.
Yeah, you should get one, definitely. Yeah.
So Dust, okay, going back to a bit of the old wrestling now, your wrestling career. Tell me a bit about you went to TNA and you actually got to referee down there, and you mixed it up. Well, these guys helped you out.
Yeah, that's actually Jeff Jarrett's dad, Jerry Jarrett, and Bob Ryder. And I actually got into TNA because through Lobo, NWA was in Adelaide, and they're actually affiliated at that time with the NWA, which was worldwide, different offices. And I'd worked for the Adelaide group, and I messaged my friend Chris Conn in the States, and he told me that Bob Ryder was actually affiliated with TNA, and I was like, that's pretty cool, because Bob Ryder, when I went over at ECW, he gave me lifts back and forth from the hotel, the arena and stuff. So I said to Chris, I go, look, I've just worked for NWA here, and I'm coming to the States, as a holiday. I reckon you could ask him if while I'm there, if any chance of getting any wrestling gigs, And he messaged me back the next day, and he's like, yeah, he remembers, and he said he can help you, just drop him an email. So I did, and the next day, an email came back and said, yeah, just email Bill Barons and tell him I told him to book you. So that's how I got into TNA.
Holy shit.
We went to the States, and we drove from Philadelphia to Nashville, which was 16 hours. And, luckily one of the guys was one of the agents was Jerry Lynn, and I'd met him at ECW, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm actually refereeing tonight." He's like, "Shit," you know. But through that, by working there was how I got into Japan, because I'd done that, and then Pondo said, then I'd work for TNA. But working for TNA, like, it was only a one-shot deal, but at that time, like, they were using guys like, Larry Zbyszko, Dusty Rhodes. I did like a thing on the pay-per-view, pull apart with Jeff Hardy,
Wow.
Jeff Jarrett, but, that time I got to meet Dusty Rhodes, actually sit down with him for about half an hour and talk about wrestling. And everybody back then used to call me Dusty Jr., thanks to Julian James. And I was like, man, if everybody could see this picture right now. But, that was a great experience. And, it was a huge step up,
And what state was that in? Was that in Nashville?
Nashville, yeah.
So,
Awesome.
But that building is actually the National Fairgrounds where USWA used to run. So it's a pretty historic building for wrestling. One funny story is, like, I sort of drove and Chris sort of drove, and we get to the hotel and Chris is like, "Oh man, I'm so tired." I'm like, "Me too." And he goes, "I don't even want to go to eat." And we walk up to our room and he looks and there's a Hooters, like, just a few Ks away, and he looked at me and goes, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Yep." But he just told me how tired he was,
Yeah. You got to eat food. Oh, you feel shit house if you don't eat. Yeah.
But by doing that is like what got me on the, international assault tours, because, they were talking about bringing a ref here, and Lobo, once again, he goes, you don't need to bring a ref. We've got a ref here and he's worked with those guys. And I originally was going to do the first show just in Melbourne. Like Henry said, do you want to do the first show? I was like, yep. And they're like, would you be prepared to, if they want to use you on the other shows, fly yourself up? on there? Look, I'm happy to do that. Because back then flights weren't that expensive. And then PT actually rang me and he said, you're doing the whole tour. And I go, how much do I have to pay to do those up to get up there? And he goes, no, they're going to fly you up everywhere. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is amazing. That is really awesome.
Even doing that show, like, I remember, like, me and Lee Starr was on he was also on the tour, and Lobo and me and Lee Starr are, like, at Star Casino, the Star City Hotel, laying by the pool, and there's, like, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and everybody. I'm going, how cool is this, Leon? I was like, this is but even with that, they Nathan Jones organised like a big dinner at one of his friends' house, and Leon's like, "No, I'm not going to go," and I'm like, "I'm going to go," and I was in the car with like Jeff Jarrett, Jurian Borash, who's with WWE now, and Nathan Jones, and all the guys were there, and I was like, "Mate, how cool is this?" Like,
that's awesome.
So, but yeah, like, TNA and all that sort of stuff was connected, but it was a one-shot deal, but it was like, at that time of the career, like, it was, I mean, we were running like, Rowville and, Berwick Community Centre in front of like 150 people. I remember people going, "You suck, Beaumont." I was like, "Yeah, we're actually going to this place and been on national television and pay-per-view, so must be that."
Exactly.
That's all right. You're only a referee. You must have copped it a couple of times, I'm sure.
Oh, of course.
Especially like little kids that go, "Hey, Beaumont," and you're like, "Yeah," and they go, "You suck."
You gotta love them. That's the best.
Oh, gee, I've copped it. I cop it a lot for being War Machine's manager.
Oh yeah,
but I'm used to it. It's all right. So no, that's good. Great stories about TNA, Dust, and how you are broken there. I think I remember you rang me on the phone from America and said, I got to meet Dusty Rhodes and sat with him for 10 minutes, and he asked me if I could have some gum.
Yeah, he's like, "Have you got some gum?" And I was like, "Sure, I haven't got anything for you, Dusty."
Really? Fuck.
Now, Dan, speaking about you know, also having a fantastic career being a referee. You're also a huge fan of wrestling. I'll put this photo up, and then tell me what this guy means to you.
Oh, Terry Funk. You know,
Looking,
like that time, like to meet Terry Funk, like even for me standing there in a Rivera jacket in Japan, meeting Terry Funk, like he was just like, I mean, Terry's just a legend, you know. I mean, I put George on that same level too. George is Australian Terry Funk. Terry
yeah,
Funk's Terry Funk. But to meet Terry, like he was so nice too. And I remember seeing him, like we saw him when he arrived from the plane into the hotel, and he had his tracksuit pants on, his bum bag, and he just looked like some tourist guy. And then that picture the next night he was going out to dinner and stuff like that. But then the next night we saw him work at New Japan at the Tokyo Dome against Abdul the Butcher, and he went from that normal looking guy to like this is business, and he was walking back and forth in the ring, and it, so serious. And to see him work like, like Terry, like what we're saying about Frank, the old guys, they know what they're doing.
Oh, of course.
It's all business, it's no joke.
It's just this feel about it. There's, no one's got time to be joking. You'd rather be home sleeping. You know what I mean? You got to take what you do seriously. So,
oh yeah,
and the older guys are, it's awesome.
And especially meeting someone like that, you go, that's Terry Funk. That's like
wrestling royalty.
Yeah,
Terry Funk is in that group of guys like Terry Funk, Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, Dynamite Kid, Terry Gordy, Steve Williams. These guys are men's men in a man's business where it was like, you're doing tours in Japan, like, Joel Deaton, you're a tough man.
There was no flippy kids around that time.
Joel Deaton told me they used to go to do the All Japan tours and then they go to Hawaii for 2 weeks just to recover. That's how beat up they were.
Wow.
That's not a bad life sitting on the beach.
Yeah.
Probably run into King Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to one podcast, brother. I think I sent it to you. I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the Hearts. But he said he had to travel 1,500 miles to wrestle in his career. 1,500 miles to wrestle an alligator, believe it or not, like an animal, and they gave him like $20.
Bear. A bear?
No, I think he said it was an alligator. I don't think it would have been a bear, but it was it was an animal. No. And he goes, man, I'm traveling, 1,500 miles to wrestle an alligator for $20, and it's like it's just some amazing stuff. How can you make fun of a guy that does that? The things they've been through is
the wrestling's all about sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I've worked all day. I've gone home and had a shower. I've got on a plane, flown to Thailand, from Thailand to Nepal, sat in an airport for 8 hours, and refereed the next afternoon. Just to do 2 shows, spend 9 days in Nepal. It's like,
it's huge.
That's what guys did. They travelled the world. They were pro wrestlers.
Yep.
Had a booking sheet. And that's what you did. You lived out of a suitcase. You wouldn't want it any other way.
When Lobo was booker at NAW, he went over to. I think he went to watch some shows. I think it was like WWE in Detroit. He followed him around in America, and then he flew back, and his plane landed in like Saturday morning. And then he went to NAW at night and booked it and ran the show, So it's like, huge sacrifices. Like, he could have spent an extra few more days in America, but no, he came back to run the NAW show.
Yeah.
So, if people think of NAW as something on a small scale, well, that doesn't mean the people involved don't take it seriously. Do you know what I mean?
But it's like, no different to guys like, Tommy Dreamer that go to Japan for one day.
Yeah.
I've flown back from Japan and worked PWA the same night.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
that, that's what wrestling is. It's a sacrifice.
Yep.
And that's the thing. You want to do it, you do anything for it.
Yeah, you tear everything down, and pro wrestling's pro wrestling. It doesn't matter where it is, how big the crowd, whatever happens. It's all the same deal, So
here's another photo, Dust, of someone from Japan that you met, who's an absolute legend, but he's not with us anymore. Tell us a little bit about this one.
That's Hayabusa. He became a paraplegic, slipping on the ropes and breaking his neck instantly. That photo was taken before I worked for Dragon Gate, and he just happened to be there. And I actually said to him, thank you for what you've given to pro wrestling, and he really, really appreciated it. But if that doesn't say what sacrifice people are willing to do and give up, for pro wrestling, and even just last week I watched an interview with him that was done by Fumi Saito, and they say any regrets, and he says no regrets. Because he loved the business. He went from Japan, trained with FMW, under Tarzan Godo, was brought up, got sent to Mexico, lived in Mexico, came back to Japan, went back to Mexico, and then had the big career here. But I'd hate to think how he felt on a day-to-day basis, because those FMW rings were so stiff. It's crazy. Like, you watch them when they bump, that ring does not move. And it was hard hitting, smashing hard tables over the heads, chairs.
How old was he when he died?
To be honest, I'm not too sure. I'm saying probably mid to late 30s. I don't think I'd have to have a look, but
wow,
maybe
fucking hell.
Those rings, and Terry Funk was there. Mike, he had a few with Mike Awesome. There was some Onita. It was a fight. Sabu. I've talked to Bill Anderson. It was hard, tough wrestling. And if you get on there on a tour, you better be ready to fight.
Fucking earth.
I remember
you have one. You get through one match and get ready for the next, and it's
guys would go on like 4 and 6 week tours.
Yeah, and some of those matches go for 25 minutes.
You're touring. Like, even when I did Dragon Gate, you're touring. You're on a tour bus for 8-10 hours a day. And you arrive, you set the ring up, you set like 2,000 to 3,000 chairs up. You referee, you take it down, and you're back on the bus. You might get to the hotel at 2, 3 in the morning. You get 3 hours, 4 hours sleep, and you're back up on the bus again. But what an experience to have.
Yeah.
Here's here's one of my favorite photos of you, Dust.
Yeah, with Great Muda taken at Corrigan Hall after refereeing him. So, a huge honour. I've been lucky enough to referee him twice. It's crazy to think that, because we watched Great Muda back in the old days, NWA when he was wrestling Sting, and, Muda's a legend, and actually being in the ring with him twice, it's pretty surreal. And, I've got a picture of me holding his hand up. I was like, this is just nuts. And then when I go to him, I go, thank you. And he just goes, yeah, no problem. Like, it's no big deal, Because I remember, like, you know, that day I was sitting at Corrigan Hall in the seats, and I was like, "There's somebody sitting behind me." And I turned around, and it's Muda, and I introduced myself, and you know, what matches I'm doing, and Cohair's like, "Oh, you're refereeing Great Muda tonight." I was like, "Pardon?" And he's like, "Yeah." And the thing is too, like, someone here, Mike Burr, loves him. And I was constantly thinking, Mike Burr is going to hate seeing this. And then when I posted the picture, he's just like, "I hate you." You know?
You're lucky he didn't give you a big clothesline, Dan.
Yes. You know, but I was, you know, it's a huge honour. And, you know, I mean, who would have thought that? You know?
Exactly.
Now, Dan, when we were talking to our good friend, referee Dave Morgan, a couple of weeks ago, we asked him about, now, did you ever cop it really badly in the ring? You know, did you take bumps or anything? What was probably some of the most memorable bumps you had to take in the ring at being a referee?
I've taken a fair few. Like, you know, I was always up for taking bumps. But some of the hardest ones I've taken, you know, I've had, like, we worked at, you know, at the Greyhound, and Ox was going to, Lee Starr was in the ring, and Ox was going to spear him, and Lee Starr pulled me in front, and I actually took that. But the thing is, Ox was like on one side of the ring, and within a split second, he was spearing me, and both feet were off the ground, and I missed my head by about inches on the turnbuckle. You know, he hit me that hard, like I didn't even have to jump. That both feet came off the ground and hit me that hard.
He's a freight train. Yeah, big ox. You know. Holy shit.
And then there was another time, Steve Frost, Slex came out of the corner, and then he ducked, and Frost came running through to clothesline him, and Slex ducked, and I took the clothesline, and he hit me so hard that my feet just like almost came up to my shoulders. That's how hard he hit me.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, I just took the bump in the corner, and that ring was pretty hard.
Oh,
you know,
brutal.
But I've taken the Death Valley Driver, running Death Valley Driver from Jag at Wrestle Rock. You know, and that just knocked the absolute tar out of me. One time, Crackers hit me on the back of the head with a cane, and I was holding my head like I was selling it, and I could actually feel like an egg coming up under my hand. That's how hard I got hit in the back of the head.
It's a weapon.
Punched me full on one time in my eye, and the next, when I went to work on Monday, I couldn't put my hat on properly because I had that big lump above my eye. You know, I've been hit by Samoan Joe.
I remember that.
The International Assault Tour. In the ring, he goes, "I'm going to give you the muscle duster," or whatever he does.
Muscle buster, yeah.
Buster, yeah. I go, "You can't."
Shoulder.
He goes, "Why?" I go, "Because I've got to do 2 more matches." He goes, "Well, I'm just going to hit you." And he just open hand slapped me as hard as he could. And he hit me so hard. The other side of my
slap, eh?
Yeah, the other side of my jaw came out, and you could actually see the top of my jawbone coming out of my eardrum.
Shit.
And I came backstage, and Lee Starr goes, "What's the matter?" I go, "I think he's just broke my jaw." And then we went out drinking that night because it was the last night of the tour, and I got so drunk I actually threw up on the plane on the way home. Next to Lee Starr.
That's funny because you don't usually get that drunk, Dust.
No, but I was like in so much pain.
Yeah.
You know.
You needed it.
Yeah.
Speaking about guys who hit hard, how's this picture from Japan?
Minoru Suzuki. Great guy. Like he was like really good friends with Nozawa. So he was really nice to me, but you know, I've seen him in Takayama kick the absolute shit out of a couple of guys live on a New Year's Eve show. I don't know what they did, but they just beat the absolute tar out of him. And I was like, I'm not a wrestler. You know. So, but he was always nice to me, and he actually owns a shop now in I think it's in Shinjuku, so you can go there. and meet him. He works there every day. So, but yeah,
Awesome.
he's an awesome wrestler and a great guy too.
And you also met Masachono, who's got a clothing shop in Japan as well.
Yeah, Chono's awesome guy. One time I was having lunch with Rene Dupree and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing now?" I was like, "I don't know, whatever you want." He goes, "Oh, do you want to go see if we can have coffee with Masahiro Chono?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we went to the shop and sat there and had coffee and talked for a couple of hours. Him and his wife, his wife's like in Germany, so he was telling me like what a pay's like in Australia for wrestling, and he was like
Oh yeah.
I haven't been paid any less than 10 grand a match since in the 90s. He goes, "Oh, what do you get paid in Australia?" And I was like, $25, $50 or nothing. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or nothing. Yeah, that's about right. Well, Dust, we also did, going, as I said, we're chopping and changing sort of topics here. That doesn't matter. We're having a great time. Thanks a lot again for coming on the show. I know this is your first time ever been talking about your wrestling career and your life in general.
I'm usually in the witness protection program, so that's all
right. Now we did rock and roll wrestling down at the Greyhound Hotel, and that was a fantastic time. It was a great time. And we got to work with this guy. He was actually the boss. And let's have a look at this picture. Have a look at those 3 mugs.
Look at that. Big Max Damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tony Yakovides was actually the first wrestler I met ever. I've got a picture with him, and I'm about 17, 18, and they were doing a show maybe at exhibition buildings.
Yeah.
And he was on it, George was on it, Sam Rossi was on it, Skyhawk, Ace Fenton from New Zealand. And I met him as he came in, and he was all tanned and jacked, and he had his bum bag and bike shorts. And I met him, and I was like, "Oh, you're a wrestler." And I was talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry, I won't let you down. I'll win for you tonight." And he actually won. And after he pinned, the guy came out and goes, "I told you I'd do it for you. I told you I'd win for you." And I'm like, "Oh, wrestling's like the best thing. He did it for me. He did it for me." And then years later, he ended up booking shows for him and working with him. He'd ring me up and go, "Dan, we've got a date. Give me 4 matches, And then I'd talk to Paul and come up with 4 matches, and then ring him back. "Yeah, what about if we do this?" And it was a good fun time. We used to do the shows, work all day, and we'd go out all night afterwards.
Yeah.
It was back when we were young and enjoying.
Well, you was young, I was middle aged.
It's still out there.
It was good. The Greyhound was great. The Greyhound was great because we got to choose the band that used to play as well, and that ring was like the world's smallest ring, and I think it came from when they did a thing on Channel 10 on Neighbours. Can you tell us a bit about that Neighbours stint, Dan?
Yeah, that's another con thing. I was doing flyers with Morgie, and Morgie's going to hate me telling this story, but it's pretty funny. We're doing flyers for PWA, and Dave's on one side of the road, and I'm on the other side of the road, and Dave's like, "Can I say something to you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "You go to Japan and you do the international assault tours. You do rock and roll wrestling, you do all this and you do that." And then my phone rings. I go, "Oh, hang on a sec, Dave. I'm going to take this call." And it's Con. Con's like, "Oh, I'm doing stuff with Neighbours and was wondering if you want to do it." And he's like, "You get paid this much. It's going to be over these days." I was like, "Yep. Oh, that'd be awesome. Great. That's great. No worries." Get off the phone. Dave's going, "Who was that?" I go, "That was Con." He goes, "What did he want?" I go, "He's just asked me to be on Neighbours." Dave's like, "I fucking hate you." He goes, I fucking hate you. I go, yeah, but Dave, you can't hate me too much. He's like, why? I go, because I've got to give you a lift back from Tullamarine back to where we live. But, you know, like today, like at that time, I can understand why, because I was getting all these sort of shows. But where I was, and he was still new to the business, but now what Dave is doing now is all the stuff I got to do, you know, at that time. And Dave's done the House of Hardcore tours. He's worked with all the international guys at BCW, you know, and Dave's an awesome ref, and he's getting what he deserves because he's been in the business probably longer than me now, I reckon. You know, because I was probably 12 years, 15 years, but 12 years doing it properly. And Dave's an awesome rep. And, you know, even like when he works with the internationals, they say you do such a great job and he gets asked to come back, you know, especially like the House of Hardcore tours. And Dave's definitely earned his spot, but, you know, it's not so much a story about neighbours, but it's a how it came about story, you know. But that was pretty cool. Like, it's the most money I made doing nothing. You know, you hang around all the studio and you just do this because I was just a referee and you just eat their free food and, you know, like I was getting $50 an hour through Con, but it was through Con, so Con was probably taking 3/4 of it. You know, but it was a pretty good experience. You know, it was so far in advance. And then when it finally aired, like one of the guys, Joe at work, he goes to me, he goes, I sat through 3 months of that shit to see you on TV. Even Carl that I used to work with, you know, I go, I'm going to Logie's this year. And he's like, really? He goes, you're a star. I was like, no, I'm just joking.
Now, Dan, as I was, sorry, bro, as I was trolling through some of your photos, now we all know, Dan, you're a bit of a ladies' man. Explain this.
Ooh.
That was at two of Julian James's friends at Wrestle Rock. That was pretty good. That's, I think, I had partners, so I was just, you know, if there's nice ladies around, I'll get a picture, no worries. You know.
You look very comfortable.
Yeah.
Trust me, now I just sit around on a Saturday night in my Zubaz, so I'm glad I made the most of it.
Well, you know, Dan was, you know, very much loved by the ladies, especially this one. Have a look at this one, brother.
Fabulous Moolah.
Look at the look on her face. Dan, I think you might have put you on the books that night.
Yeah. She's like,
she's trying to get over grandkids. I had in my hair.
Poor old Moolah. I loved it when she took the Bronco Buster. It was so cool.
Moore's a legend, but you know, if you watch that Viceland doco, she's on another page.
I don't think she's very popular with Leilani Kai, that's for sure.
No.
But a legend. She was a legend. You'd have to give her that.
Yeah. But even that was at the Cauliflower Alley, you know, and that afternoon we arrived and I missed Jimmy Snooker by about 10 minutes.
Ooh.
Damn it!
You know? But that dinner was like Moolah, Fred Blassie, Killer Kowalski, Pat Patterson, you know, the original Samoans, Captain Lou Albano, you know, Losses Johnny Valiant, you know, it's pretty cool. You know,
all the legends.
You know, and
I'm going to ask you, Dan, about. Sorry, continue what you're saying. Go on.
Oh, you go, brother. That made you proud to be a wrestling fan. You know, going to one of those dinners, like, it's pretty amazing thing to be.
Definitely. I've got to ask you about the Mulgrave War Games because everyone knows I love a War Games match. Do you remember the Mulgrave show?
Yeah,
Ryan Rollins, Mike Bird, Jay Andrews, James Jackson, George the Hitman, the Iron Horse.
Like I always say to James, people wanted to come and see him get pinned. You know, like when you guys, like were you on the heel side?
Yeah. I was on the heels for the original War Games.
like even that, like that shows, like, you know, because that place was packed, you know,
Oof.
and that was a great blow off to a great feud, you know, even like, you know, people came to see James getting pinned, you know,
Yeah.
even, you know, and you could feel the tension when you guys walked out, like you felt it obviously that night, you know, you
Oh,
felt
yeah.
like real heels,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I was on fire that night. Out.
but like you know, that's wrestling, you know.
Yeah.
You could feel the tension in the air. You could feel the heat from the heels. You know,
Yep.
you know, you could
I
feel
know.
the crowd. You know,
Yeah.
that's what it would have been like. You know, back in the '80s, working for NWA, I reckon. You know,
Yep.
like I hadn't
Look,
felt that sort of feeling from a crowd since when I went to ECW live. You
Yeah, I
know,
was just
Yeah.
about
you
I
could
was just
feel it.
about to say, Dust, that you said to us that night at ringside when we were there, this is the same sort of energy, same sort of heat like it was at ECW at the arena. It was just
Oh,
mind blowing. Yeah,
Explosive.
it was a magic night for sure.
It was.
I mean, even if you watch like I saw it maybe, you know, last year I saw when Rollins came off and he pinned James, that roof blew off the building.
Oh, yeah.
And
That was
also too, a lot
huge.
of the guys too, like they never had a crowd that size, you know, and that building had great acoustics as well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the floor was wood, like I mean most floors are wood, but it had that old sort of, you know,
Vibe to
old,
it.
yeah. So everything was loud, but the crowd was like, I can remember like when the faces came out and then when you guys came out, you know, the
Yeah.
feeling it was
It was
awesome.
huge. I grabbed a fan and I threw him back in his seat. You know, the fight was. I've been addicted to war games ever since. Like it was just. I mean, there was a glimpse of it there. I was Gabriel Wolf and I with the last NAW War Games. Paulie, Gabriel Wolf and I were really feeding off each other and fueling each other's aggression. And there was small shades of it there because Gabriel's just a fantastic talent. And but that original War Games, even you had Phil Lewis, who was that baby
He was
face.
over. He was over. You know,
Yeah,
and he's actually a really great ref too.
yep,
Like he's really good in the ring as a ref. But you know, that's what magic wrestling can be if it's promoted right, the storyline's right, the story leading up to it. You know,
there he is. There's the
yeah.
great man.
The funny
But
thing,
wrestling's magic. If it's done right,
yeah,
it's magic.
yeah,
You know,
it's awesome.
I mean, that pop when James got pinned, it was just. I mean, you watch it back, like the crowd was like, "This is what we've
Ryan
come to see."
Rollins had his rib cage bandaged up, and I grabbed the bandage, and I'm like just slamming him off
You're
the
smashing him
canvas
into
with
the
it, you
cage.
know.
You're
Smashing
smashing
him
him
into
into
the
the cage.
cage. Yeah. Yeah, man, that fight was on, and the crowd was spitting on the heels, and man, that was electric. And I remember
But it was like the old
seeing
war
you
games.
out there. Yeah,
It was like the old war games of like the NWA.
yeah,
You know, like
and
the
you were
roadies
out
come
there with
in. You know, each like you know, it was like the baby faces are in, the heels are in double teaming, and then the baby face comes in. You know, and you guys like that picture. You guys were getting huge heat just from the guys on the barrier. I was like, this is awesome. You know,
yeah, that original the war game setup of having all the heels, you know, on their side of the ring and the faces on the other. That original professional wrestling war games, you can't. Remember they tried to modify it, Paul, and it lost
yeah.
that magic. That everyone wanted their own entrance. Daniel, they tried another setup of a war games one time where two guys would start the match and then there would be entrance music every minute. Every minute someone would come out and it was almost like the Royal Rumble sort of feel.
okay.
Like and it just wasn't the same. You know, it was a disaster really. But But when we did it the right way, like that original War Games, it was beautiful. But that night, Dan, I remember seeing you, the effort you were putting into like controlling the room.
Yeah.
Was like keeping the heels separate from the face, and it was just, it was awesome. Really was.
I remember
I'll
some
never
guys that
forget
night were going like, God, I'm so nervous. I go, it'll be fine. Just listen, especially like if I was refereeing, you just got to listen when you're out there. You'll be fine, don't worry. But I was so, because of the crowd and the atmosphere, I was like, just relax, hope you'll be fine.
Yeah,
this is
it was intense. Yeah,
But that
it
comes
was
with
intense.
experience,
The hair stood up on your arms. The hatred. When the crowd is spitting on you, you're just like, oh, and it's, God, what a rush.
But that's the magic of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Magic,
yeah, it is. And, the celebration of when the faces defeated us, Paul, and Phil got in there and he's jumping up and down, and he's like, yippee, Team NAW, Team NAW. Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. Lobo body slammed me in that match. Yeah, man. Lobo gave me a body slam in that match.
I think he gave me a leg drop off the top too, maybe.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, and the leg drop.
Yeah.
It was all happening in that match. Mike Bird, Jay Andrews, Lobo. It was, what a match.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dan, speaking about guys you've worked with, how about this guy? Probably one of your best friends as well.
Oh, Mad Dog. Yeah.
The big doggy.
Yeah, we've been all over Australia, Japan, and Mad Dog is like, one of my really, really good friends. I've known Mad Dog since I first walked into PCW, and I was like, geez, this guy's nuts. I mean, he's like scary. He was actually only 17 at the time, but he was like so good to me, and we've had so many good times. Worked like him in his matches with like Cletus. That's some of the most enjoyable matches that I've done, and he can wrestle with anybody. He's respected by guys overseas. Like I know, like Sabu thinks a lot of him. Jun Kasai, he's loved in Japan. He loves wrestling. He loves drinking. He loves food.
Yep.
Like we've been walking around Japan going, how was this? One time we were working at Corrigan Hall. It was him, Masada, and Hondo. And I'm checking him, and I go, how cool is this, Andy? And he just looks at me and goes, it's pretty sweet, Daddy. And in that match, he got like body slammed off the top onto like a whole tray of thumbtacks.
Fuck.
And he lands, and I go, are you all right? He goes, it's not pleasant, But, and then afterwards we're in the dressing room and he's bleeding all over the place, and he goes to Hondo, goes, oh, is this all right? And he's like, man, look where you're standing. You're in Corrigan Hall. He goes, Terry Funk stood here and bled all over the place. Bruiser Brody goes, you're fine. But, Mad Dog's one of the best I've been in the ring with here, no doubt.
The true legend here in Australia, that's for sure. Speaking about hardcore dust, what about this one?
Oh, New Jack. New Jack was actually really cool to me. Like, I met him. That's back in '96.
Look at the hair on that brother.
I know.
Man, he's got it happening. You can rest your coffee cup on that.
That's like a 3 weeks growth. That hair is well and truly dead. I'm going for the Sugar Ray look back in those days. But one good New Jack story is we all went to Florida. Me, Sebastian, Joel Gertner, Chris Conn, and because the guys fly all over the place, so we're walking on the plane, and there's New Jack sitting in business class in his ECW tracksuit, and there's all these people with suits and ties, and he's just sitting at the front, in his full ECW tracksuit, his shirt down with all his bling, I don't know, he might have had some tape on his forehead, but New Jack's nothing but good. I've seen him do live promos that have aired on ECW TV. I've seen him chase guys out of the hotel, because they've said to him. I've seen him in the ring. Man, ECW, you want to talk about stiff and, the real deal. ECW in the 90s live was just nuts. Paul Heyman, the guy behind all booking at ECW and, became the owner. But,
Legend.
Yep.
ECW,
for the business.
I worked 2 jobs to go to ECW live for the first time, 9 months without a day off, and I came back going, this is what I want to do. I don't know how I can do it, but, I'm definitely getting into wrestling after this, But Paulie's pretty cool.
Once it grabs a hold of you, you're finished. So.
But I went over there as some guy that had been living with his parents, hadn't seen anything that you shouldn't see in life, going to the ECW hotel, seeing rats, drugs, hardcore wrestling. My parents are like, when I came home, they're like, how was the trip? Trust me, it was amazing, but I can't tell you about it. But I want to be a part of it,
Yeah.
And, the next time I went back was in 97, and, that's when the offer was made to get into ECW, go through the school and stuff. And, that's when I was like, I'm going to do this. So,
Yep. You're a good man, Daniel. You've done amazing things.
Well,
it's hard to capitalise on it all.
I did the best that, of what I could do from here.
You have. You have. You've been very successful. You've travelled. You've done great. You've done your level best, buddy.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, back in those days, there was, at the start, there was no internet, letters. My friend Sebastian, we traded letters and phone calls.
Yeah.
So you sort of wonder how.
There's nothing.
Wrestling was done back in the old days, and it was all done through a booking office, but how did they get hold of the guys, all that sort of stuff? It's hard enough, from the late 90s,
Yep.
Probably,
guy said to me just the other day in a coffee shop, he said he's seen me wrestle. He's from
the coffee shop,
Williamstown. Williamstown Workmen's Club. And he said, mate, he goes, people don't know what they miss out on. He goes, the people that, they don't know, like the people that are unaware, like it still happens as much as we hate to admit it. There's still people that don't know about the local scene. And as much as you got with Facebook, this and that, but it's not as broad as we think it is. And the guy said to me, he goes, people don't know what they're missing out on. You know what I mean? If they knew,
the guys here deserve to have the international spotlight. They deserve to wrestle overseas and be known, because
of course,
the guys are just as good or better.
Yeah, MCW is living proof of it.
Yeah. I mean, guys that I've worked with, like Spike Steele, Lee Starr, Jay Andrews, Cletus, Mad Dog. Mad Dog should be living in Japan working full time with a contract.
Yeah.
He's restricted over there. He can go. He can do anything. You should be in All Japan Pro Wrestling, mate.
I know. I know.
I'd love to be the guy in charge of booking guys from Australia over there, but it's hard enough for international.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It's all connected, and it's hard enough now. Like, God knows what the future's going to be like. With all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard now that you've got to really you got to pay your own way over there to Japan, and you've got to really prove to them, like, they don't go out of their way at all at the moment. They're like,
I mean, I know.
If you want it, you prove to us.
Like, All Japan guys bring in guys. They fly guys in New Japan, obviously. DDT, but, not like the old days with, they brought in 8, 10 guys at a tour. It might be 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have the sponsorship like
So,
they did. New Japan's still big, but
yeah,
companies like aren't what they were.
I think after COVID we're going to see a massive. Hopefully, we see, because everyone's feeling dead at the moment. Everyone's feeling deprived of fun, of everything, and I think wrestling's going to play a big part of that rehabilitation. I think once COVID-19 goes, people are going to say, you know what, I want to start having fun again. And I don't want to sit on the couch anymore. I've seen all the episodes of MASH and Judge Judy and everything else. I want to start having fun again. So,
but you imagine what the first shows are going to be like.
Oh, yeah. Look, it's going to be amazing. And it's good for the wrestlers too, because some of the wrestlers are struggling mentally, physically. And everyone's just going to feel so alive. It's like we're born again, It's like being a born-again Christian. And Dusty, that's why, this isn't a sales pitch, but there's a few more 3 counts left in that shoulder, brother. I know there is. I can see it now. George the Hitman, he comes out. George the Hitman versus Crackerjack. And Dusty is the referee, Big Daniel Beaumont. Mate, I can see the highlights already, Bastard TV, George's promo, it'll be amazing. Come on.
I had a dream the other week that I came back. Did Paul tell you about my dream?
No, but I'm willing to hear it because this is all contributing. Keep going. Go for it.
I actually had a dream that I did rock and roll wrestling again. And the main event was you and Mad Dog versus Gore and George.
Ooh, yeah. We're talking. That's a match.
Aaron was against Vixen.
Yeah.
Chris Trans was on the show as well. So
it's going to happen, Dan. It's going to happen. So stay in the fight, Daniel. Yeah. We love you. Paul and I love you. All the guys love you.
Just now that we're into the time on stage of the show, Dan, just a quick word about. I'll put up a photograph of one of your good friends. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
Oh, Mr. Sayazawa. I met Say 2005 after I made my debut for Big Japan, and Say's been a really, really good friend from that time. Even on that time, he hardly even knew us. He took us to Killer Khans. He goes out of his way to help you. He's a true gentleman in wrestling. Like, he's such a good-hearted person. His wife's really nice as well. Say will do anything. He loves all of us. He's very good friends with Vixen and Mad Dog, Martin, Chris, myself. He's been to Australia twice. He does all the T-shirt designs for BCW. He's organised with Japanese guys up here. He does T-shirts for everybody around the world now, in wrestling, and he does other things. He's a great designer, illustrator. You message him, he'll message you straight back. If you want to try and find out how to get somewhere, he'll meet you at the station and take you there. He's just such a great person.
Great man.
Like one of my best friends in life, and he knows how I feel about him. And we all love him.
Now, Dust, talking about great friends, the guy you've refereed a number of times is probably one of the most wildest guys in the ring, totally out of control on the microphone and everything. You always tell me you sweat buckets when you have to referee this guy. Please tell me a little bit about this guy. I know this is going to be a bit hard for you, but thoughts on this guy?
or the anomalous. Well, you know, we've actually met up. We've actually met up in Japan, me and the anomalous. But from what I've heard, like he had a legendary career in Japan for about 20 years, and currently he's in hiding in Mexico because you know, he owes heaps of taxes to the government. You know,
Yeah.
he was involved in some sort of scandal involving like donkeys and you know, something
What
to do with
about
like
what about the legendary softcore matches at PCW? I heard they were, off the charts in
that
more
was
ways
classic.
than one.
That was classic. You know, he was a star of rock and roll wrestling at the Greyhound as well. But I heard he was a lot of the time afterwards hanging around Grey Street doing wrong things that he shouldn't be doing. So the worst thing is seeing him walking the streets around Grey Street and he'd have a mask on, but he'd have a dress on as well. I don't know what he was into, that guy. But I heard that currently he's in hiding in a cave in Mexico for some reason.
Not the
Lock the
easiest guy
bastard
to.
up.
Well, I'm still his manager, and you can't get in contact with him like once every 6 months. He was on at the first show, the premiere show of Powerhouse Live, and suddenly he came up on the screen, and there he was, and absolutely
But he went from being a legend.
Hello, man.
A legend of Japan. I mean, you think I've got a lot of Ribero jackets. He's got like 20 Ribero jackets.
Oof.
And now he's
Wow.
blackballed from Japan because apparently the Yakuza Mafia want to kill him. I don't know what he did. Something to do with Roppongi or, you know, doing things that he shouldn't be doing. So,
Where are we then? Well, he tried
Yeah,
to
he-
pin Antonio Inoki in like 15 seconds into the match, and that was going to riot. I'm only joking.
he's happy like if there's a curfew and there's lockdown because, you know, it's easier for him to lay low at the moment.
There you go, Paul. Anomalous.
Anyway, Dust, look, we've broken the record here. We've gone for a long time.
Over 2 hours.
Yeah, over 2 hours. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
You're
As
a
we
legend,
always say
Dusty.
to our guests, we can, we go longer, or we'll get you to come back on again.
Definitely.
The story always continues. There's always a lot more we can talk about, and just wrestling in general and everything. I think we've covered a lot of ground tonight, which is excellent. It's
I don't
really
usually
good.
come out of hiding for much stuff these days to do with wrestling, so
Which is a tragedy.
Yeah, we got to get you back to a couple of shows that are.
I've always told you that, Dusty. It's a tragedy.
yeah.
We need you around. We need you. People can benefit from your presence.
Exactly.
I'm still alive, barely.
Yeah. We need you alive.
You
There's
know.
been too much death.
That's right, baby.
Big
That's right,
Dusty.
Daniel. You tell him.
Oh, I still remember that War Games, brother, when he grabbed hold of the top of the cage and he gave the big drop kick, mate. Oh, awesome. Dusty Rhodes.
Anyway,
As I said,
guys, we'll wrap it up with you, Dan. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to
No
you really
worries.
soon.
I'll
Thank
talk
you,
to
brother.
tomorrow. I'll talk to you tomorrow on Messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
too.
almost straight to bed for us old guys now. Kane stays up for at least another hour or two.
Yeah.
He's going to wrestle
I
the
got-
De Niro.
I got to wrestle the dog.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Cool.
we're still trying to get a couple of words from Lozen. Maybe we could get her to give us the big thumbs up in the camera on the next show or something.
I was going to say, if I come on the show, Lozen can come on the show. I'm lucky to leave the
Maybe.
house to go.
Oof.
I'm lucky to leave
Bloody-
the house to go to the supermarket. Never mind, come on here for 2 hours and 20
You
minutes.
Yeah,
She's
she's harder to get on this show than what Denomalus was.
She's the Minister of War and Finance, Daniel, and you're getting me in trouble here.
That's because Anomalous is in the witness protection program.
Exactly. I'll need to be in witness protection, I think.
Anyway, Dust, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you really soon.
See you guys.
Sayonara, amigo.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dust.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Well, brother, what an interview that was.
Big
The
Dusty.
legendary Dusty Beaumont, Daniel. Thanks for him for coming on. He helped
Definitely.
out with a lot of the preparation for the show.
He did.
With the questions, or not really the questions, just gave us a bit of background and a lot of the photos and everything. As I said, I rated his Facebook page and got a lot more photos than what he gave us. Always like to surprise the guests here.
Definitely. We need more. We need more, and we shall find more. More shall be revealed.
Yeah.
Who wants to be a guest on Powerhouse Live, baby?
We had a couple of we had some people in the chat, or people listening, and they were sending in some just making comments. Peter Curran said, "Miss you boys and the whole NAW. Bring on 2021."
Yeah,
we certainly will. Until when NAW comes back, the whole locker room's going to be firing. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. Jed Mace said, "Thanks for I love the stories, Dan." Mel Conway, love you guys. Jason Presley, Big J's, Dusty for NAW.
The Big Crusher.
Tass asked if Rock and Roll Wrestling would return. Well, can't really say much about that one. Maybe, you never know. There's a lot of promotions here in Victoria.
You never know.
Yeah.
What was once may be again.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for everyone for the comments. Jared gave a whole list of them, being a bit cheeky there.
I've had Big De Niro with me the whole time, brother.
Really?
He's been standing guard. I'll see if I can show you. I don't even know if I can show you. Like
panning down. Where is he? Look at
De Niro. De Niro. Hey boy, who's Daddy's boy? Who's Daddy's boy? I love you. Daddy loves you very much. Daddy loves you very much because you're Daddy's boy. Say hello. Say hello, Powerhouse people. Say I'm the new war doggy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But you know one thing, brother? Next week, we've got a very special guest coming on the show, and he's actually watching tonight to send a comment. We're going to have Pete the Chef. My good friend Peter Damage, or his real name's Peter Con.
That's exactly what we need on the show, brother, is a chef.
He won't be cooking you anything, but he might give you some tips for you and I, because we're getting a big round the old girth.
Nutrition is important.
Yeah. But Pete and I have a long relationship going back to the mid-'80s when we used to play in a band together.
Looking forward to it. Maybe he can play a bit of bass, yeah?
Maybe. He's very talented. I've got a lot of photos, got a lot of embarrassing photos of him and me when we were back in the days playing music, playing hardcore, playing lots of rock and roll. It's going to be a big rock and roll night next Saturday night. And Peter and I were big wrestling fans back then too, so we'll be talking about some of our favourite matches and everything.
Good.
So all you people, everyone who's watching, make sure you tune in next week. Pete's a great talker. He loves a good chat, tells a good story. It's very funny, bit of a comedian as well. So
nice.
All right. Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching Powerhouse Live.
Thank you for joining us on Powerhouse Live, baby.
Take care. Wear the mask. Look after each other.
And stay ready.
Train. Can't wait to get back in the gym. Yeah.
Ready.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dusty. Get on you, mate.
Thank
you. We love you. We'll see you next week. Until then, hang on, I might just play. Where's our going out theme? All right.
Come on. Fire it up, baby!
All right, here we go.
You'll take my life, but I'll take yours too. You fire musket, but I'll run you through. So when you're waiting for for the next attack. You better stand, there's no